Hi guys, welcome to October 6th here at Hickorycroft Farm. We're going to take you on a whirlwind of a garden tour here really fast because in 2 days we have a big threat of frost, and as you can see as we look over even just our raised beds here, there is a lot that needs to be sorted out. We have a lot of herbs in the garden, especially our stevia, which we really want to get that out because that's an important crop for us. We have managed to harvest a few of our dried beans. We're not too worried about them because, as most of you know, a dry bean can handle a little bit of frost without being too detrimental. But right behind me here you can see peppers. Peppers can't handle that cold, and we have a lot of peppers, and that's not it. Sweet potatoes are abound everywhere. There are greens, and we have no idea what's in any of these. So hopefully we can get enough stuff sorted out that we aren't decimated by a frost in 2 days.
So where we live, every year, sort of that first frost date keeps getting pushed back a little. Usually it happens sometime in September. We're into October, so I mean, we're already lucky enough that it hasn't come yet. And it's not likely going to be a really heavy frost, but a lot of the things like the stevia that are tender or more tropical, they're not going to like it. And so those are things we have to deal with now. There's lots of other things like the Brasicas, Kale, even our peas that we planted for a fall crop, beets, those kind of things. What's coming is not likely going to set them back at all. And we actually have decent weather scheduled after this little cool down. So today is a bit of a mix, or this couple of days is a bit of a mix of getting some things harvested, cleaned out, and just done. Getting some other things just tidied up, and moving a few things into the house. So as you can see, these are our Amish snap peas. So this is actually a fall planted or a late season sow, and they're doing really well. In fact, they're even blooming. So we should get some peas in a very short period of time here. These will be fine. On the other side of me, we've got lemongrass. This is a perennial, i.e. it doesn't die every year, but it won't live in our climate. So we're going to try and experiment with this to see if we can kind of keep it going over the winter months. But one thing that's really simple for me to do is move our rosemary plant into the porch because it won't mind a little bit of cool, but this is going to have to come in the house, and I think it's time to take it out of the garden. This is a good example of taking things in the house, keeping it alive, because this rosemary plant we've basically had for the past 3 years. So next year will be year 4.
But one thing you're going to see as a theme in this garden this fall, and you can sort of see it peeking out behind me, is tomatoes. All of my tomatoes were so late this year, so behind, and now we have plenty of tomatoes, but I can't cover them all. So hopefully this frost does not hit and we get a couple more weeks harvesting, because it has been so wonderful this fall enjoying these tomatoes. But you can see here, tomatoes. There are quite a few in here that are nice and green. Even more cherry tomatoes. This was our volunteer patch right beside those noodle beans that has gone crazy. Look at all the green ones. And more tomatoes. These are our big Palestine ones. As you can see, the plants have pretty much completely died back, but we do have a few stragglers. And of course, talking about tomatoes has brought us all the way around the barn to the new for 22 garden and my San Marzanos. It is crazy. There are so many tomatoes still in this garden, and I'm running out of space and steam, but they're all on the ground. We're going to get what we can off these, and this week is going to have to be a mega processing week, but still pleased to have all of these. And there's even more other ones in this garden. So tomatoes are definitely something that has to be dealt with before this frost comes, because you know how it is when they get that kind of like frosted top and then they go and they don't keep for anything. So then I'm stuck only being able to freeze them, which I don't really have the space for right now. The boys are coming over to have a visit. Hi, what do you think, bud? What do you think? Oh, and Spot. So Spot's saying hi. And look at all these peppers. These 2 gorgeous rows of peppers, and they're covered in green ones. I'd love to see them turn red, but it is not going to happen. We're going to pick what we can. I had high hopes or ideas that I could cover these somehow. I don't know if it's even worth it. I don't know if we could, and I think we're just going to salvage what we can on them, leave the little guys, and hope that we get another 2 weeks of nice weather. But there's something that really has to be picked or they won't make it. So that's coming out of here. Tomatoes are coming out of here. There's going to be quite a harvest video. You're going to have to go to Pantry Living to see that. It's going to take place over the next couple days as we try and beat this frost.
So we're pretty sure we're not going to be able to get all of our sweet potatoes harvested, so we are going to try to harvest a few of these barrels. But one thing I am going to do right now, because I don't want them to get damaged, is I am going to take some sweet potato slips. Most people don't think of doing this in the fall, but these are our purple sweet potatoes, and this one blue barrel is the only barrel that we got to grow, because we basically, for not growing it for a year, we were left with very little in the way of tubers. We have them. The plan is to keep slips going and sort of make new slips throughout the winter. A, just to keep it going. B, we may use it a bit as food, because sweet potatoes are one thing, at least the vines and the slips, that grow really well indoors.
And I have to say, I really would like to do an experiment actually trying to grow sweet potatoes in pots, because if you got to have house plants, you might as well make some food at the same time. But we'll see if that actually happens.
So behind me is our sorghum. We've already harvested this. We were really watching it. This is a grain variety. I'll put it down below because I can never pronounce it. It's a Chinese variety, and we're really impressed with it. So we have all that inside drying already. And right next to it, we have our popcorn. And I'm actually, first time looking really close at this, it's pretty much ready, but we're just going to leave it because these plants, obviously corn, they're going to be completely fine, and we don't really have time to harvest everything today.
So I was just about to walk over to the eggplants to tell you about it, and I saw this tipped over pepper plant. Look at them. Oh my gosh. And it would be so nice if these were all red, but the wonderful thing about these Tolly's sweet Italian frying peppers is they work green as well. But look at the blossoms as I come up here. They're still covered in blossoms and producing fruit. This has just been a crazy year. Look at this little guy here. So if we don't get this frost, these plants will still keep going for us. And you can see in the distance as we look across this whole garden, we have an amazing row of brassicas down there. We've got our broccoli going to seed. We've got kale on both sides. There's a couple cabbages in here. It is just beautiful and lush. But what we have at the front here is the dilemma. We have eggplants, and more eggplants. And these will not survive a cold snap. So we need to harvest these guys and get them out of here and figure out what we're going to make. So the funny thing with these eggplants is they did nothing. They did nothing for ages, all year. And this fall, all of a sudden, bam, there they are. I'm looking out here and I can probably see 30. And I'm going, what am I going to do with 30? We tried to freeze them last year. It wasn't a success. They aren't super nice frozen. I'm thinking maybe I'll make them into meals and try freezing the meals this year. I'm not sure. You'll have to watch Pantry Living to see what we get up to as the cooking aspect of it. But for right now, we're going to take a look at how gorgeous these plants are and figure out getting them out of the garden. Now I know, as promised, this has been a whirlwind tour. We're trying to wrap it up quickly because we got a lot to do and we want to take you guys along for the ride. But we do have behind me our peanuts. This is another thing. Got to come out of here. This won't make it through the frost. So again, another big project. And I didn't even show you the potatoes or anything like that. So we have a lot of work to get done here. But today and the rest of this video, we're going to focus a little bit more on the things that need to get inside in order to stay alive.
So not a bad little haul of sweet potato slips. As I say, these are just our purple variety. And I think this will be enough to sort of keep us going. And hopefully we have lots come next year because we'd really like to focus on these.
It seems almost surreal to be worrying about the frost when I'm out here in no sleeves. It's gorgeous. It has to be getting close to 20 degrees and it feels beautiful, but it is still in the back of our mind. And I would have loved to have shown you more because there is so much going on in the garden still. I have tons of basil and herbs and our Jerusalem artichokes, just all these things that are doing unbelievably amazing. But what we're going to talk about here is something that I'm I think both Chris and I are absolutely embarrassed about, and hence why they have not hence why it has not really made the cut in any videos, is the state of our greenhouse and the fact that there is still plants in this greenhouse that never got planted from spring. And two of those plants are lemongrass and stevia. And the intention is to get those inside in pots to survive the winter and keep us going into the next garden season. Okay guys, we're going in. Don't judge. Don't judge. It's bad. Honestly, the greenhouse has just become that place where everything got chucked all summer. Cardboard for gardens, pots, containers. You can see here though, I do have some lettuce and rutabaga and a few beets ready for going into a garden somewhere or pot. On this side, we have some cherry tomatoes that never got planted. These are actually, if you've ever had the candy bomb ones from Walmart, I kept some seeds out of them just to try to see if we could grow from that hybrid variety. And I got one tomato on there, so I'm eagerly waiting to see what that one tastes like. And over here is some of the plants that we have been talking about. There is a rosemary there, some lemongrass, some stevia, and we've got some more stevia here that really should have been trimmed down to go a little bit more bushy. But all in all these plants need to get into a pot and into the house. Not those tomatoes. They never made it into the garden, and that's a story for another day.
So first task, we're going to take these sort of sad looking little plants they've been kicking around in the greenhouse for a while. We have 2 lemongrass, 1 second rosemary to kind of have a backup for the one that we're going to take in the house. And we've got 4 stevia plants that we didn't get planted.
So as Chris is working away at filling these pots, it was something that we just kind of went in that greenhouse and dug out of the depths of, I don't even know what kind of hoarding you want to call that. But now it is time to get these in. We're using some potting soil, and hopefully some of these plants are in pretty rough shape, but hopefully we're going to still have some goodness out of them, and we're still going to try and salvage that big lemongrass that you saw out there.
So for right now, this plant's probably going to go in the porch or maybe back into the greenhouse. I'm just cutting off some of the dead growth. We will probably cut this down, like cut the whole top off when it comes in the house, so that it can kind of readjust to the very different conditions. But this still has probably into December before the porch will get too cold for it. So I'm just kind of cleaning it up a bit. Last on this video, I guess you probably can tell we're a few days later. Last plant to come in the house is going to be these lemongrass plants. So we've got to see if we can get them apart, because I don't think all 3 are going to fit in the same pot. So that's the next task.
But we got it flipped over. All right, this beautiful lemongrass is out of the pot. Hopefully we can keep it alive a little longer to harvest some of that and have it still come back next year. So the original plan was to just kind of plunk this into one of these big pots. Guess what? It does not fit. So now we have 3 pots here, and we're going to divide 1 plant into each one, because these are too valuable to not keep alive, especially when they look that amazing.
Well, we've got the job all done, and I think it's kind of not a moment too soon in a way, because it's definitely feeling colder. I guess for now, these lemongrass plants are just going to live here in the greenhouse. But in the long term, while we can use this for some curing and storage, this won't be usable for the whole winter months. So they'll be moving inside. But really, I don't know if there's any true major point to this video, other than no matter what you want to do in life, when you get to a point where the world works against you, and you know it's coming every year if you're a gardener, that you're going to have to move really quickly for those things that either aren't cold hardy enough to be outside, or you're just trying to get that little bit of extra time to be productive. So I think we've done pretty good. Garden's not completely dead, because even with a bit of a frost, and we might even get some snow, it's not going to kill a lot of the things like the brassicas and that. So stay tuned, because there's definitely going to be more garden activity before the year's over.